Hello everyone, my name is Christian. Welcome back to Tekpon. Today our guest is Richard Harris, the author of The Seller's Journey. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
It's a pleasure to have you, Richard. I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you asking me to be on. I'm excited for this conversation.
I will let you present yourself first and share a bit about your journey.
For the last 10 or 12 years, I've been working with startups and founders and some larger organizations on their go-to-market strategies, founder-led sales, and then as they scale their sales team, training their sales reps and their customer success teams and stuff like that. So I don't like to talk about myself like that, so I'll stop there.
But is there any specific industry?
Excuse me, mostly SaaS, mostly software as a service industries. I do have a couple of clients, General Electric is one that's, all over the place. A couple of others that are in hard goods, like some manufacturers all these gloves for people who work on like oil rigs in the desert and oil rigs in Alaska and like just, a couple of things, but it's mostly software.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know. I would love to know how you started your journey, your career, basically. You've done so many amazing things. I'm sure somebody like me that's 20, in their 20s would love to follow. So please share your journey, your challenges.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go quick because I hate talking about myself. But first job in high school and out of college was at a store called The Gap because I wanted to wear jeans and t-shirts. I was never a coat and tie guy. I then sold long time ago classified ads, which are the little ads in the back of a newspaper, which was where newspapers were the most profitable, and then transitioned into startup world, right? Started working for a couple of different companies. I was in San Francisco right around 2000 when, the dot-com went bust the first time around. Got into educational software, got into some other early stage startups that didn't work, but I got a lot of experience. Ended up getting with a company called Mashery that did API management. So this is 2011 and 12 before APIs were super
Hmm.
easily understood. And from there, then I moved into consulting. So that's where I've been. That's the quick version.
Okay. And currently, are you still doing consulting?
Yeah, that's my primary job. Yeah, I don't know that I could ever go back and work for a big company again. So
And how do you help companies? What is the process? What should they know before they come to you?
yeah, so the people who do know me or the ones that come to me, they come to me for a couple of reasons. One, they're early stage, they're founder-led sales, they're trying to figure out their ideal customer profile, they're trying to figure out their marketing, their pitch, eventually working on their process, and then sort of bringing in that first sales leader, right? And I coach the founders a lot on how to sell because they need to go get their first, 10 to 15 customers really before they try to scale the process. And then for larger clients, I teach reps how to earn the right to ask questions, which questions to ask and when to ask them. So teaching the sales team those conversational skills, the soft skills. Those are the primary reasons.
Wow. And do you prefer working with smaller companies like founder-led sales and helping them transition, or with bigger companies?
I like them both, to be honest with you. Like, I think they both keep me connected to the marketplace, right? Like, I get to learn equally as, from them in terms of what's industry happening. With the early stage companies, they're so cutting edge. They're so new. I'm learning things that I wouldn't necessarily learn, with, the companies where I'm training the sales team, which can also be startups, right? Like clients with 5 or 10 reps. Um, I'm still learning about new technologies and things, but I'm learning how things are scaling. I'm hearing what the conversations are really like, right? Because, sales evolves, the sales conversations evolve, prospecting evolves. So it keeps me connected. They both keep me connected. Sometimes it's easier to work with a smaller company just because you don't have to go through a procurement process, which
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
mind doing. Is just, like that, it can move a little faster, I think is probably the best way to say it.
yeah, yeah. I get that. But how do you see how did sales in B2B SaaS evolve over the last couple of years?
Well, everybody's sort of talking about the glory days of 21 and 22 and then, and 2019 and beyond, like 2020 to early 2021, was COVID, right? So, nobody knew what that was going to be like. But then everybody says it's gotten harder now. And I've always seen it. I've never seen sales as easy. The biggest I wouldn't say it's a mistake. The biggest thing I see right now is last year was very quiet. Nobody really did a lot. They usually when the recession hits or a bad economic situation, people make cuts to personnel, and then they still come back and they find people like me because they need to train their team. Last year, nobody wanted to train their team, but then they still missed goals. Like I think it was just a big thing where CFOs were super tight in controlling budgets because it was like hang on for dear life kind of thing and figure it out. This year, everybody's coming to me. What I'm seeing is a big difference is they're all asking for prospecting. They all want to fill the funnel. And the challenge that I'm seeing is that so is everybody else. So, and I get it. You have to have a full funnel, and you always need to prospect. The challenge is the noise is going to get worse. And so what I often remind people is, yes, we should do that. And for the meetings you do get, because it's going to be harder to get them, what are you doing to make sure they convert better? And that's where the sales training comes in. So I think that's the biggest thing is that people all think if they just fill the funnel, the sales will take care of itself. And that's just not the case, right?
Absolutely.
And it's not a one or the other thing. People like to see it as one or the other. It's not. They have to run in parallel.
And how do you train salespeople? What do they need to know? Or what are the biggest mistakes that you see?
From the companies or from the sales reps? Like
sales reps.
From the sales reps. I'll say it this way. Salespeople, we are supposed to be the biggest instigators of change, right? Like that's what we go in and do. We are all so often in sales afraid to change ourselves. We're afraid to change an approach. We get so stuck in a rut of doing things a certain way. And believe me, just because I show up doesn't mean you should change anything. If you're hitting all your numbers and you're doing everything right, ignore what Richard has to say. It will not offend me, right? On the flip side, if you're not doing well, you need to change things. So that's the first thing that I see is a mindset. The other piece that I see is that, and I'm a big fan of this, like I love sales scripts and people love to hate sales scripts. They hate them because they don't understand them. They hate them because they've been told that it's not authentic or that it's not real or they're going to sound like a robot, all those things. Well, there's a difference between using, knowing, and having a sales script and sounding scripted. I don't want anybody to sound scripted. And I call out every salesperson whoever makes a pitch that they'll get to some part of their pitch or the demo and they will say the exact same thing, the exact same way every single time. And that's a script, right? It might be a mini script, but it's a script.
Yeah, a structure.
But they practice it enough that it actually sounds natural. That's the difference. Right? I don't want to answer, hey, how do you compare to so-and-so's feature? I don't want to have 4 answers to that question. I want one answer, and I want it to sound actually correct and authentic. So those are the 2 I see the most.
Okay. And how can companies build this, let's say, playbook or structure? I guess it all starts from the CEO educating on the new reps.
Yeah, I mean, I think it starts there, and then the CEO eventually, so if you're a CEO of a founder-led company, right, you're still founder-led sales. The biggest challenge I see there is that CEOs don't take everything that's in their head and document it on paper. Right? There's no reason today in 2024 that every call a CEO is on for a sales call at founder-led sales level isn't recorded and transcribed. There's just no reason for it, right? Because there's all these tools out there. So that's the first thing is they don't get stuff out of their head and on paper that can then be formulated into a workflow, a pitch, a script, objection handling, all that stuff. So that's the first thing. The second thing I think that founders unintentionally mistake is that, and I'll be very specific. A lot of founders I work with are the tech founders, right? So they're science minded. That's different than a business minded founder. So I recognize that. They think that just because they can read something once and do it, then everybody else could read it once and do it. And it doesn't work that way. It takes practice and it takes time. I also see that founders don't understand that the reason they're getting their earliest stage customers is because of their title. They are the founder and CEO. Those early customers are buying into them as an individual and the trust that they have that this is the person, this is the man or the woman who is going to get this stuff done. And if I have a problem, I'm calling this person. As soon as you start to put salespeople involved, you're one step removed. And founders forget that part, that people are buying them, their personality, their founderness, as much as they're buying the product or service. And so those are the big things that I think people miss. But I could go on I've got a list of 30 things that people miss, but I'll stop there.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. And I'd love to know more about your book. Basically, what can people learn from it and why should they buy it?
Oh, well, they want to buy it because I got 2 kids. I got to get to college. No, I'm just kidding. That's never going to get my kids to college. So the book's called The Seller's Journey. The concept of it is quite simple, is that there's no such thing as a buyer's journey, right? There's only a buyer's experience. As humans, we are all consumers and we are all comparison shoppers. That defines us in the business world, right? And at least that's my belief. And we make decisions based on the experience we have, not a journey that we as a buyer creates. The buyer doesn't create the journey. There's an experience that occurs that encourages the buyer to go on a journey. And that journey is created by sales and marketing. So that's the high level concept. We go into all kinds of things around neat selling, which is my sales process and methodology. We get into very specific tactics, like how do you negotiate with procurement? How do you stop discounting? What do you say when someone wants a discount? How do you do deeper dive discovery? So there's this philosophical approach that's part of the book. And then it's very tactical, like how do I handle this situation? So from what people have told me, they like both pieces and they really enjoy the tactical stuff because it's the stuff that's never taught. Nobody teaches you how to negotiate with procurement. Nobody actually teaches you how to present a discount that actually provides value to you and your customer. So it gets really tactical and it gives you lots of scripts and words on how to say it. So.
You convinced me.
Thank you.
I love it. And let's say starting from the beginning, how can a person get into sales? How should they learn sales?
Well, first of all, I think everybody should recognize you're already in sales. Every single person is in sales. And I mean, from the youngest age, from the moment you tried to sell your parents to buy you an Xbox or, right. Go to spring break somewhere in college, or like kids are in sales. So there is this natural piece to it. I think you have to be open to the idea that sales is the single greatest profession in the world because we can affect and change more lives than just about any other profession I know, right? We can come in and if someone buys from us, that individual, right, Christian, you all of a sudden can become more successful. Well, what happens if Christian's more successful? Maybe he gets a raise or a promotion. Maybe he goes to the next job and gets a raise and promotion. And what happens when Christian does that? His life changes. And if Christian's married or has kids, then their life changes. And so there's this amazing economic piece that happens, right? And so for me, I find that fascinating because we can touch so many people on a regular basis. Look, doctors can do the same. I get it. It just doesn't flow all the way through, so to speak, in my opinion.
Yes.
It doesn't, and by the way, it doesn't mean other careers are less valuable. I say this because people love to look down upon sales as if we have less value than their career. So that's not the case. So one is the mindset. The thing is, reach out to people, reach out to someone who's in sales. You can reach out to strangers these days, like in social media world, and just say, hey, I'm trying to get into sales. Can you give me 3 pieces of advice? You send that message to 10 people that you find on LinkedIn. Somebody's going to give you some advice, right? So you don't have to wait to be taught if you don't want to. You can go get yourself taught. You can teach yourself.
100% I agree. Yeah, absolutely. And do you have some piece of advice for the starting founders?
Yeah, I think the starting founders need to. The first piece of advice is it's never going to go as fast as you think it is. You are as great as you think you are. You are not as great as your mom and dad think you are. Okay? Like that doesn't cut it. And then more than anything, this is the most important thing I say to founders. Understand that nobody cares what your company does. They do not care what you do. They only care about the pains you solve in relation to the customer themselves. I don't care what you do. I don't care that you created the world's greatest, biggest, baddest, whatever AI, because A, you're a startup founder. You haven't. You're not the world's greatest. You don't get to declare it. And B, I want to know what that's going to help me do. What pain of mine are you taking away from me? That's what people want to know. And that's the biggest mistake I see founders make. Well, I mean, there's lots, but that's one of the biggest is that they think they need to over index on explaining what they do and how great their technology is. And that's not the case.
I love it. I'm curious to know if you have some favorite software, B2B SaaS that you use and would recommend
Say that
to
again.
others.
I'm sorry.
If you have any B2B SaaS, any software that you use and would recommend to others.
That I use? Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on what it is you're trying to accomplish, right? So that's the first thing. But I use Fathom for my video recording and my transcription service. Obviously I use Salesforce for my CRM. LinkedIn is it. I use Grammarly because I need to make sure I sound proper. Let's see. I'm trying to think. What are the other ones I use? I don't have a ton that I use that are like public facing. Like I don't use. I know of SalesLoft and Outreach and Reggie and all those things. I work with many of them, but knock on wood, I don't need to utilize them that much. So I think that's the biggest piece. So, and then, I have created Richard Bot. So I have taken all my content, uploaded it into a bot so people can get free coaching and advice. So that's, I'm constantly tinkering with that. So that's a fun one.
Is it free?
Yeah, it's free.
Good.
Yeah.
Where can I find it?
God, that's a good question. It's called Delphi. Let me go pull up the address because I just changed it the other day.
I will add it to the description of the video.
No, that's fine. But I think it's delphi.ai/Richard. I think is my clone.
That's awesome.
So,
and you also have your own podcast, right?
I do. It's called the Surf and Sales Podcast with my partner, Scott Leese. We also have an event that we host down in Costa Rica twice a year called Surf and Sales. So check it out. It is the most chill, relaxing, educational learning conference you'll ever attend. Like it's pretty life-changing.
Wow. And in Costa Rica, beautiful.
Yeah, in Costa Rica, yeah. Can't beat that.
I love that. Is there anything else that you want to mention today on the podcast?
No, not at all. I appreciate the opportunity. I feel like I plugged a lot, so I don't want to overdo it. People can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm Richard Harris with the little trademark by my name, and that's just me creating my own emoji long before people put emojis on LinkedIn. And I'm a little crazy that you can always contact me at +1 415 596 9149. That's my real cell phone number. I know it's real because my kids never pick up when I call from it. Having 2 teenage boys, but text me to let me know that you heard me on the Tekpon podcast, and yes, I'm on WhatsApp, so you can connect with me. But yeah, I'll talk to people.
Thank you so much for all the resources. I will add the book and the AI to the description. And yeah, I'm really grateful. I learned a lot.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you.